Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. So, before reading, let's invoke the blessing of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुर्वे नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः ईश्वरा परमा कृष्णः सच्चिदानन्दविग्रह अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दः सर्वकारणकारणम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we have been reading the book Trinadapi Sunichenam by Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki jai. And chapter name is A Society Without Envy. And yesterday we left at page number 114. And there was a conversation between devotee and Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj. Devotee 3, Guru Maharaj, you explained that you can't see Krishna. You should preach under the guidance of someone who can. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, yes. Devotee 3, and just simply repeat what you have heard. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, yes. What you have heard, in that way, your understanding will develop. Devotee 3, because that is a form of Shravanam. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, yes, one should hear Shravana. If you hear, Premanjana will be smeared on your eyes, and then you can see Sruteksita Patha. Shruta, hear, and then see. Devotee 4, so much preaching is going on, and Prabhupada's books are there. So I am hearing that and I am repeating. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, yes, repeat, but do not repeat like a parrot. A parrot is also repeating, but its words have no effect. You should get life first, then preach. Then it will become effective. Devotee 4. So Prabhupada would say, you judge a thing by its results. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, yes, by the result. Devotee 4. So if you are repeating what you have heard, that means that if somebody asks us a question while we are preaching, we can't answer it. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, when you can't answer their question, then they will never hear again from you. He cannot answer my question. Devotee 3. A day when we have no Bhagavad Katha, we are starving. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, Bhagavad Katha is a food for the hungry soul. If you do not take food, then how will you get life? Prana achhe yanara, se hetu prachara. When one has prana, he has life, and therefore he preaches. If you cannot get food, how can you live? You will become skinny, weak, and have no life. Devotee 5. Many disciples of Srila Prabhupada were preaching under the order of Srila Prabhupada, and seeing the miseries of the people, were spreading Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Now many of them have stopped preaching. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami, one who has life and sees Krishna can never stop preaching. He sees Krishna's jiva is suffering. He will preach in spite of all obstacles. When Bhakti Vinod Thakur became very old, he had to lift up his eyelids to see. But even at that age, he would say, I want to ride on a horse and go out and preach. One whose heart bleeds, who has compassion, he will say such a thing. It is a question of compassion. Are you preaching out of compassion? If one is not preaching out of compassion, he may preach for some days, but then he stops. I lost all my enthusiasm. Oh, why did he lose it? He lost Krishna. So many points to be noted, dear devotees, in this conversation. So hearing is very important, and especially hearing from your own Guru Maharaj is very important. If every day we hear from our spiritual master, of course, we hear many people, many devotees, and we like many devotees to hear, but hearing from your own spiritual master to whom you surrendered is very important. And then, if we stopped hearing, when many times, right, we lose enthusiasm. And I observed that when we stopped hearing or reading, then our enthusiasm also reduces. But when we keep on hearing on day-to-day basis, right? 15 minute, 20 minute, 30 minute, right? Whenever you get chance, or you hear when you drive your car, then our enthusiasm is always maintained. And then we always say yes to the service opportunities, right? Because it's Sambandha Gyan, with what we have with Krishna, that is keep reminding us. So that Sambandha Gyan, we should keep hearing about Krishna and his devotees. And that's why it says that we have to preach out of compassion. And that is only possible when we continue the food for the soul. So now we are starting the next chapter, chapter 8, source of envy and intolerance. Shriya Sukavacha iti danavadeteya navindan amritam ripaha yukta karmani yatasya vasudeva paranmukha. Sukadev Goswami said, O king, the demons and Daityas all engaged with full attention and effort in churning the ocean. But because they were not devotees of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, they were not able to drink the nectar. Syadhyati amritam rajan payayitva swakansuran pashyatan sarvabhutanam yayau garuda vadanaha. O king, after Supreme Personality of Godhead had brought to completion the affairs of churning the ocean and feeding the nectar to the demigods, who are his devotees, he left the presence of them all and was carried by Garuda to his own abode. Saptanam param radhim drishtva te diti nandanaha amreshammana utpetur devan pratyud adyut duhyuddaha. Seeing the victory of the demigods, the demons became intolerant of their superior opulence. Thus they began to march towards the demigods with raised weapons. ततः सूरागणा सर्वे शुद्धया पित्ययदितः प्रातिसंयुद्धयुद्धौ शस्त्रै नारायण पादश्रेयः. Thereafter, being enlivened because of drinking the nectar, the demigods, who are always at the shelter of the lotus feet of Narayana, use their various weapons to counteract the demons in a fighting spirit. Tatra Devastrude Nama Rana Parmadaru Naha Rudhaish Udanvato Rajams Tumulo Roma Harshanaha. O king, a fierce battle on the beach of the ocean of milk ensued between the demigods and demons. The fighting was so terrible that simply hearing about it would make the hair on one's body stand on end. तत्रन्योऽयं सप्तनास्ते समृद्धा मानसोरनेः सम्मसाद्धियुस्भिर्बन्निर्निजघ्नुर्विविधद्युधः. Both parties in the fight were extremely angry at heart, and in enmity they beat one another with sword, arrows, and varieties of other weapons. There are always two kinds of men in this universe, not only in the planet, but also in the higher planetary systems. All the kings dominating planets like Sun and Moon also have enemies like Rahu. It is because of occasional attacks upon Sun and Moon by Rahu that eclipses takes place. The fighting between demons and demigods is perpetual. It cannot be stopped unless intelligent persons from both the sides take to Krishna consciousness. Two kinds of men, Sura, Asura. There are always two kinds of men in this universe, Sura and Asura. Who's Sura and who's Asura? Vishnur Bhakta Prokta Deva Asuram Tad Vipar Yayaha. One who is a devotee of Vishnu is Deva. He is Sura. He is demigods. Tad Viparinyaha. The opposite is one who is not a devotee, is Asura, a demon. These two types of persons, devotee and non-devotee, Sura and Asura, always exist. And similarly, enmity always exists between them. There is always enmity between demigods and demons, Sura and Asura, devotee and non-devotee. The fighting between demons and demigods is perpetual. It cannot be stopped unless intelligent persons from both the sides take to Krishna consciousness. So, dear devotees, this enmity, what is there in the society, we see there are two classes of men, right? Devotees and non-devotees, and that's why difference of opinion comes into picture. But if the both parties are remain Krishna conscious, then there is no question of difference of opinion because there is only one opinion, and that is the service of Vishnu and Krishna. That's why they say, na, the universal brotherhood. How we can achieve universal brotherhood? When we have a common father. If everybody has his different father, how people will consider themselves brothers, right? So universal brotherhood can be achieved when we accept one common father. That's why, say that God is one who has no competitor. If God has a competitor, then how he is a God, isn't it? So when people call God with different names, actually they are calling same person because God is one. God cannot be 15 or 20. God is one. Then Krishna has unlimited name. God is Krishna and Krishna is God. So we'll stop here and then we'll continue tomorrow from this page. And now let's read Srila Prabhupada, Leela Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Now we are reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter name it Let There Be a Temple. Yes. So there is a conversation. Srila Prabhupada, this Krishna conscious movement is not a sentimental religious system. It is a science and a philosophy. Prabhupada explained that understanding the science of God was transcendental to Christianity or Hinduism. The real goal was to learn to love God. Second student, I have a question about Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti stresses that when you are speaking in the Western world, you should speak and present yourself as Westerner, not as Indian, or as you would speak in India. Instead of sitting on raised dais and dressing in the robes of a monk, Krishnamurti would say, dress in Western clothes and sit on a chair. What is your opinion of this, Srila Prabhupada? Actually, a God conscious person is neither a Westerner nor a Eastern. So, anywhere the devotee goes, as they receive him, he accepts. Those devotees have arranged a raised seat, so I have accepted the raised seat. If they wanted me to sit down on the floor, I would have gladly accepted. I have no objection to this or that. But as devotees receive and give honor, this is good for them. Because actually, we should honor the Supreme Lord God and His representatives. Nowadays, it is different. Students are not learning to honor, but that is not actually the system. According to the Vedic system, the representative of God must be honored as God. Another student loudly. Do you consider your movement the major form of enlightenment emanating from the United States today? What particular role does your movement play in the White House Psychological Warfare Department? Will you be coming to our 4th of July demonstration against the United States this year and take up the real political issues? Again, many students began shouting. Madhudvisa Swami took the microphone. I can answer if you like. Our movement is not from United States. If you have some paranoia that everything is coming from United States, well, that is your hang up, not mine. Applause. And second of all, our spiritual master came to United States to start this Krishna conscious movement because he got a free ticket on the boat to go there. If he would have sent him a free ticket, if you would have sent him a free ticket, he probably would have come to Australia first. So he's trying to spread love of God. He is not trying to start any kind of political movement. He is trying to spark a revolutionary consciousness. I think you are also interested in revolution. We are interested in revolution also, but we are interested in revolution which will help people to feel peace themselves, whether they are communist or Marxist or whatever it is you like. We are trying to help people attain happiness, whether they are. Madhudvisa Swami remarks triggered the largest vocal protest yet. The commotion rose as students all over the hall began to shout. There was no possibility of a peaceful philosophical discussion. Devotees' greatest concern became getting Prabhupada out of the hall unharmed. Prabhupada rose from his Vyasasana and, escorted by his disciples, left by a side exit. A large crowd of students had gathered outside the door as Prabhupada emerged, but he entered his waiting car without incident. As he rode slowly through the cluster of students, a girl kicked at the car with her booted foot. And as the devotees were getting into their vans, students threw stones. Finally, as the devotees drove off the campus, they had to pass under an elevated walkway where some waiting student threw black paints down onto the vans. Riding in his car, Prabhupada was mostly silent, but he seemed disgusted. He said in future he would only give lectures in classes where he was invited, no more wide open lectures. Such an unfortunate incident that a pure devotee of Krishna is there to give you peace and happiness, and people have no respect. This is so unfortunate. By causeless mercy of Krishna, he sent Prabhupada to that university. I don't know where those students are now, what their life would have been. But they still get benefited because they had darshan of Srila Prabhupada. Because seeing a pure devotee itself is so purifying. Although not favorably, but at least they have seen Srila Prabhupada, they heard Srila Prabhupada. That itself is purifying. Srila Prabhupada flew from Melbourne to Chicago, stopping overnight in Hawaii. His schedule allowed him only a couple of days in Chicago, where he would attend that city's first Rath Yatra festival. He was very keen on holding Rath Yatras in big cities around the world. And although large crowds often could not hear Krishna conscious philosophy without becoming restless, angered, or even violent, everyone could enjoy and benefit from a Rath Yatra festival. So, dear devotees, mind is like that. When we start hearing any lecture, immediately our mind says, disagree with this person. That's why many times, just after 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, people started either asking question or become restless. They should hear at least for 30 minutes and then raise question. But because this mind immediately rebels, say, hey, disagree with the speaker. Srila Prabhupada has written in the Nectar of Devotion, quoting from Bhavishya Puran, a person who follows the Rath Yatra car when the Rathas pass in front or from behind, even if born of a lowly family, will surely be elevated to the position of achieving equal opulence with Vishnu. In Jagannath Puri, India, the original home of Jagannath worship, a Westerner could see Lord Jagannath only during the yearly Rath Yatra festival. And when deity would come out of the temple and ride on his cart. And besides, very few Westerners would actually go to Jagannath Puri. But Srila Prabhupada and his Krishna conscious movement were making Lord Jagannath available to everyone by bringing the Rath Yatra right down the main street of their city. It may seem odd to average American or Australian, but from the viewpoint of Lord Jagannath and his followers, it was perfectly proper. Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, was for everyone, everywhere, regardless of nationality or religion. This year's festival, 1974, would mark the 8th annual San Francisco Rath Yatra. And now, at Prabhupada's urging, devotees in more and more cities were beginning to hold the festival. Srila Prabhupada wanted to give utmost prestige to this kind of preaching. And so he had gone out of his way to come to Chicago, where he had never been before, just to ride an hour down State Street on Lord Jagannath's cart. Prabhupada's felt that his disciples, by holding Rath Yatras in cities on every continent, would defeat false religion, and spontaneously people would be attracted to Krishna simply by enjoying a festival of singing, dancing, feasting, and seeing the Lord. Prabhupada stood in downtown Chicago before the large, elaborately decorated car, eager to ascend to the seat where he would ride during the procession. But there was no ladder, so he waited while devotees ran to a hardware store and got one. Then he mounted the cart and sat on his Vyasasana. The city was busy with thousands of shoppers and workers. Many members of Chicago's large Indian community had turned out to receive Lord's blessings to observe this tradition so well known to them. And hundreds of Prabhupada disciples from throughout the Midwest had gathered to pull on the ropes of the cart, lead kirtans, and distribute prasadam and back to Godhead magazines as this big cart plied down one of the busiest streets in America. Although several policemen on motorcycles led the procession, their mood was hardly that of King of Orissa, who had traditionally led the Rath Yatra procession in India. Each year, King would present himself as a menial servant, leading the parade by sweeping the road before Lord Jagannath with a gold handled broom. The Chicago police, however, seemed intent only in getting the parade over with as soon as possible. With stern anxiety, they dedicated themselves to keeping the open flow of ordinary automobile traffic. They acknowledged that the devotees had an official permit for the parade, but they continually prodded them to pull the cart faster, threatening to terminate this parade entirely. By Krishna's grace, however, everyone, including the Chicago police, became satisfied as the procession moved along peacefully for several miles, finally arriving at the Civic Center Plaza. Amid skyscrapers and city noise, Srila Prabhupada addressed the outdoor audience. Immediately following the lecture, devotees began prasadam distribution and kirtan. Prabhupada was pleased by the festival. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So such a nice, we are really indebted to all Prabhupada disciples who worked so hard, right? Especially in America, setting up temples, Rath Yatras, congregation. And see, we are all getting benefited with that. Otherwise, getting devotee association in America is almost like impossible. But by Srila Prabhupada and their disciples, we got it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So we'll stop here. Anybody has any question, correction, chastisement, or any realization to share? We'll give 30 seconds and then we'll stop and continue chanting. We'll stop here. वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Ananta Koti Vaishnavind ki jai. Thank you, dear devotees, for listening to me. And please forgive me if I have not read the book properly.